Dear audiences, welcome to our Dorado Retreat House Real Life Stories Radio. It's our honor to give you our most sincere greetings in the love of Jesus Christ, Mother of Perpetual Help. May the love and peace of the Holy Trinity be with you and with your family. This program is run by Father John Liu Ngọc Quỳnh, who is one of Hanoi Redemptorists, CSSR, and his Dorado Retreat House. This radio is a broadcast with the purpose of sharing our experiences, discoveries, and confirmation about the problems related to mental illness, spiritual illness, vocational discernment, religious life, marriage life, and the ways that God has been leading us. New stories are broadcast and updated continuously on radio and website svcongiao.net at 9 p.m. on Sundays. We hope it will bring you to the new perspectives, new hope, new directions, and new saving road about human mysteries, illness, sorrows, and healings. Especially, these stories are really useful for those who are suffering from the same problems as we have experienced and healed.
Dear audiences, passing childhood's always leaves in the soul of each human being more or less difficult memories to fade it. The most beautiful memories is really moral support for the rest when I got tired. What about the unwanted memories? Has this become the ghost haunting for your life? Is this causing the pain or causing your life are dark? Deadlock, then not. As for the girl in the following story, memories of being related to use her body to satisfy sexual needs. It had become a phantom value for frightful clean already retrieved her life. To understand the pain and the way to break out of this horrible ghost of girl, we invite you to listen to this tragic story with the title Obsession Horrors of Those Abused through the reading voice of Miss Yuen.
I was born and grew up on the barren land of a province bordering Laos. After I completed grade 12, I went to Hanoi for study, and then my life entered a dark period. Even now, sometimes I think, supposing that moment I didn't enter the retreat house, Dorado Chapel, what will my life be like now? Can I exist when I had experienced many painful memories of childhood, which has been trying to attack me, so that I fell into the deep pit of stalemate, tension, and despair? One of my distressing memories is that my body was abused by one of the members in my family to satisfy her sexual needs. I don't know why, but since I was a little girl, I have been so afraid when people kept staring at my body. I didn't dare to dress as gaudy or polished as my sisters. Now, when looking back, I realize I was afraid when I dressed so well like that. People would pay attention to my body, and then I had to witness the salacious eyes of men. I also didn't dare to express the feminine traits of a girl. I purposely lived boorish like a boy, or showed that I was an unpleasant, rude, and rough person, because deep inside myself, I had a great fear that made me create the self-defense mechanism. The more I grew up, the more that fear appeared. I was very hideous when looking at my body or others, especially the sensitive reasons. I felt sexual disgust. I didn't want to grow up normally like many other girlfriends, because I was afraid once I grew up, like my sisters, I would be flirted and solicited by lewd young men. I was afraid to get married and child-rearing. When thinking about being familiar with the husband or embracing the children, I felt creepy and grisly. I was extremely frightened when someone tried to be intimate or to hang on me. Although I didn't know what they mean, I always thought there was a craving for sex in them, and they were desperately looking for people to satisfy. Without stopping there, every time I saw fathers and mothers cuddling or embracing their children, I was shivered, chilled, and disgusted. In front of my eyes, they were showing dirty emotions for their children rather than serious and bright emotions. They just used their children to satisfy cravings by such disguised actions. They thought children couldn't distinguish those emotions and outsiders couldn't realize, so they took advantage of the way to show love to children to satisfy their lust. Not only that, in my head, it appeared the scenes when they were at home and they would have other dark behaviors with their children while sleeping with them. At that time, a sense of anger and inhibition welling up in me. I wanted to shout to relieve the pain smashing furiously and boiling in me. Or when casually surfing and hearing of the child abused, that fear rose in me violently. I couldn't face that scene. I cried and felt the pain in my chest. I wanted to be insane. I didn't understand why I had those feelings. It was like a ghost haunting me, making me very miserable. Every time it appeared, I couldn't control and then my life was so disturbed. I clung to myself. My relationships with other people were hindered because if someone got close and intimate to me, that obsession would emerge, and I immediately went away from them, no matter they were my relatives or strangers. I was very disgustful about sex. I felt that human was really dirty because of sexuality inside. I didn't believe there was any clean emotion, but all were sexual emotions. I didn't dare be intimate or concern others because at that time, a very strong desire rose up in my body, whether they were boys or girls, elderly or children. I craved for receiving and giving a pure love to others, but it was so difficult because of my obsession. It seems to entwine my heart. I isolated myself from the world around me in terms of affection. I only could live with them by the mind. I thought I would live alone like this forever. My life wouldn't be complete if the fear and the obsession kept attacking me. In 2 years of working, I've had to wrestle with fear and other diseases. I was tired and exhausted. I decided to halt everything to return to Taiha Church and ask for Father John's help for retreat and healing. Once again, I entered the desert journey of my heart. Under the guidance of Father John, I wrote out all the expressions of that fear, which submitted from present back to my young age, and code name for that fear. After a period time of thinking and stringing the manifestations of that fear, I could give it a name: fear of sexual abuse. But who abused, and when was I abused? I prayed and waited for God to enlighten me because I didn't remember anything. That memories must have been very deep. In that Lunar New Year, while I was at home, I realized that I was afraid of intimacy with my mom. I didn't dare to sleep with or close to her. The more she sought to have an opportunity to be close to me, the more I felt scared and stayed away. I felt an extremely intense desire inside her. Nobody in the house gives me a sense of awe as her. I recalled when my mom had visited me in the inn. On that day, she slept with me. She thought I was asleep, so she wrapped her arms tightly around me. At that time, my heart beat wildly, my body stiffened. I panicked. It took me a few days to recover. Then when I was a child, I remembered every time she made me read with her own prey. There was a disgusting feeling in me. I didn't want to read. Somehow, I felt like I had to be her partner then. There was also a time when I was 4 or 5 years old. She hugged me and whispered to me the wet, smooth words as whispering to her lover. I told spiritual father those things. He analyzed, and I understood that there was a very high risk of sleeping with my mom. She used my body to satisfy her lustful desire. My mom was a very strong sexual person while my dad was very weak. Dad couldn't meet the sexual needs of my mom. Moreover, at that time my family had 8 children. My mom didn't want to have any more children, so she would restrict the sexual relation with my dad. And I became an alternative to my dad whenever mom's sexual desire was higher. Gradually, the Lord made everything in me brighter. I was sure Father John's guess was the right direction. Certainly my mother thought I was only a child and knew nothing. So many times she made certain actions in order to satisfy her sexual desire and made me extremely frightened and disgusted. Until now, each time I catch the similar sights, that feeling of fear rises strongly inside me. By finding out the cause, I have partly explained the manifestations of that fear for a long time. Firstly, it explained why I felt chill whenever I was with my mother or saw mothers cuddling and breastfeeding their children. I shivered all over. My childhood memories were reappeared through that picture. Secondly, I understood why I was afraid of those who wanted to be close and intimate with me in a secret and lustful way, or wanted to possess me to satisfy their sexual needs. Thirdly, it also helped me to understand why I always thought there was no pure love. It was contaminated by sexuality, because the first love I received was infected with sexual odor. Calling name and finding out the cause of the disease was the first step to help me be delivered. I was able to control the fear every time it arrived. Following Father John's direction, again I wrote down the expressions of that fear as detailed as possible to flush the feelings of the fear out of me. Every time it comes, I will face myself gradually, no more scared. Along with trying on, I continue to ask God to heal the damage breaking my soul. Currently, I've found peace and mastered that fear. And my next plan is practicing to face my mother. How can I be close to my mother? Over time, I believe that God will give me a healing. Dear audience, the tragic story of the girl above is a message to parents. Please do not use children as a tool to satisfy your sexual needs. Do not think that your sexual behaviors towards children are innocuous. No, it will leave lasting impacts and destroy the life of the child. Please strive to protect, preserve, and teach your daughters how to stay away from dangers of bad guys, so that children will get a pure soul without being haunted and controlled by bad memories of sexuality. Thank you for listening to Dorado Retreat House Real Life Stories Radio. We wish this hearty sharing will be useful for you, and it's possible that someone in the same situation will also have a chance of being healed. Dear friends, if you think this story gives you something interesting or useful, please click the register button to update the next broadcast. If there's any suggestion or comment for our program, please send us via email nhatinhtamgier rador@gmail.com. Wish you all a new week full of joy and peace of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much and see you again on the next program.